Today we're talking about a game changer in engineering assessment reports, the TPA EA reporting service, designed to support pipeline reactivations and acquisitions. Joining me is a pipeline integrity expert. Welcome to the show.
Thanks. It's great to be here. This is such an important topic, especially as the industry is moving towards smarter, more efficient solutions for all things integrity related.
Before we jump in, here's something to think about. What if you could transform pipeline engineering assessment reports from tedious paperwork into actionable insights that save time, save money, and provide tangible benefits? That's exactly what we're discussing today.
And I think by the end of this episode, listeners will be as excited as we are about the opportunity to adopt the TPA Engineering Reporting Service.
Absolutely. So let's dive in. For years, traditional engineering assessment reports have been, let's say time-consuming, rigid, and often based on outdated methodologies and limited data. How are the TPA engineering assessment reports different?
Great question. TPA engineering assessment reports are unique because they are created from the foundation of the TRIAGE by AbaData risk assessment framework. And we've previously spoken in detail about how TRIAGE is a highly advanced tool for classifying pipeline hazards.
Oh yeah, for sure. This is a real differentiator for the TPA engineering assessment reporting service.
Absolutely. What makes TRIAGE stand out is its ability to integrate over-life operational data, historical performance metrics, and predictive data pattern analytics to provide a comprehensive integrity assessment. It's like moving from a paper map to a live GPS system, more accurate, reliable, and actionable.
I love that analogy. In fact, I remember talking to an operator who said TRIAGE by AbaData helped them cut weeks of administrative work and uncertainty about the condition of pipelines being considered for acquisition. It's not just precision, it's peace of mind.
That's the power of actionable insights. The TPA engineering assessment reports not only provide an industry-leading assessment of pipeline integrity, but they also offer reliable, risk-appropriate guidance for mitigation schedules proven to deliver long-term reliable performance.
But let's break it down for listeners. What are the specific benefits of using TRIAGE by AbaData as the backbone for these engineering assessment reports?
Sure. First, TRIAGE eliminates guesswork by considering the over-life performance of upstream wells and advanced water film transport dynamics. For example, it calculates corrosion risks using metrics like CO2 partial pressure, operating temperature, water film flow dynamics, and the impact of detrimental well behavior. This precision ensures that mitigation strategies are tailored to each pipeline's unique conditions, strategies designed to prevent new corrosion and avoid activating pre-existing corrosion damage.
That's huge. I've seen traditional assessments that use blanket recommendations based on simplified rules of thumb. It seems to me that traditional hazard models prescribe the same treatment for every patient within a complex gathering system, regardless of their symptoms, and without any consideration of over-life well behavior.
Exactly. TRIAGE by AbaData doesn't just highlight risks, it scores them. For instance, it uses a 5x5 risk matrix for internal and external corrosion, categorizing pipelines based on both likelihood and consequence. This gives operators a clear picture of what needs urgent attention versus what can be managed routinely following a reactivation or acquisition. It provides a reliable foundation for proper risk-based deployment of future mitigation, monitoring, and inspection programs, and costs.
To our listeners, imagine how much smoother your operations could run if you knew exactly where to focus your resources. Think about that, a world where engineering assessment reports were not simply an exercise in checking the box, but an investment capable of elevating confidence in future pipeline performance.
Absolutely. Take hydrostatic testing, for example. Traditional methods might recommend it across the board. But with TRIAGE, if the data shows a low likelihood of damage, you can confidently skip it without compromising safety or schedule an in-service leak test upon reactivation. Just another example of how the TPA engineering assessment reports position field operations teams to perform risk-appropriate activities. And the associated cost savings often add up to a 40% savings in direct integrity expenses compared with other simplified industry methods.
That's fantastic. But let's talk about long-term benefits. How does this system support operators beyond the initial assessment?
Oh, this is where TRIAGE by AbaData really shines. It's not just about assessing the here and now. It provides a roadmap for ongoing integrity management. For instance, the mitigation guidance in a TPA Engineering Assessment report might recommend a combination of periodic pigging and continuous inhibitor injection. But it doesn't stop there. If an operating company subscribes to the TRIAGE by AbaData service, the implications of subtle ongoing changes to operating conditions provide notification and updates of the risk profile and mitigation schedules as conditions evolve.
So, operating companies benefit by commissioning a TPA Engineering Assessment report and by subscribing to the TRIAGE by AbaData service. It's like having a living, breathing strategy instead of a static document that's outdated the moment it's printed.
You've got it. And for operators managing multiple pipelines across complex gathering systems, adoption of TRIAGE by AbaData makes it even more powerful. You can visualize risk across your entire corporate inventory, identify patterns, and make proactive decisions. The combination of TPA Engineering Assessment reports and TRIAGE by AbaData is a game changer for upstream oil and gas operators.
Let's talk real-world applications. Do you have an example of where the TPA Engineering Assessment reports have made a tangible difference? I've been hearing a lot about pipeline license transfers and acquisitions. How do these reports support those processes?
That's an excellent point. When a pipeline changes ownership, having a comprehensive data-driven engineering assessment report can be a deal-maker. The TPA Engineering Assessment reports provide an industry-leading record of the pipeline's integrity status, historical performance, and mitigation strategies. It's all about transparency. Buyers can quickly assess the pipeline's condition and risks, while sellers can demonstrate due diligence and regulatory compliance. Reliance on the TRIAGE by AbaData assessment adds an extra layer of confidence because its risk models are well documented and validated, making it easier for both parties to make informed decisions.
I imagine that speeds up the whole process too?
Absolutely. It reduces the back and forth between parties, minimizes surprises during the due diligence process, and ensures that any recommendations for reactivation or ongoing operation are grounded in solid data.
That's invaluable in acquisitions where time and clarity are critical.
Definitely. One client recently acquired 35 pipelines within a single network originally commissioned in the 1990s. They weren't provided with any historical, operational, pigging, monitoring, or mitigation data. Only historical cathodic protection monitoring reports. The AER was concerned that the lack of historical data was insufficient to demonstrate the acquiring party's capability for providing long-term reliability upon taking ownership.
It sounds as though the acquisition plans were at risk of not proceeding.
For sure it was, but reliance on TRIAGE by AbaData as the foundation of the TPA Engineering Assessment reports saved the day. TRIAGE relied on regional historical pipeline performance patterns for pipelines sharing a strong sibling association with the acquisition candidates. The TRIAGE assessment affirmed that regional cathodic protection systems had proven capable of mitigating the overlife external corrosion hazard for pipelines constructed in the 1990s.
Was the TRIAGE assessment able to provide similar benefits for evaluating overlife internal corrosion and the extent to which the pipelines may have experienced pre-existing corrosion damage?
Oh, yes. Because TRIAGE can surgically pinpoint potentially problematic wells within a complex well field, the new owner had access to a reliable overlife internal corrosion hazard profile for each pipeline. By relying on TRIAGE, the TPA Engineering Assessment reports provide a reliable hazard assessment as the foundation of a risk-aligned mitigation strategy for each pipeline. An assessment that fully considered all the overlife nuances that might influence the internal corrosion hazard and corrosion damage profile. This approach positioned the new pipeline owners to demonstrate their ability to deliver long-term reliable pipeline performance upon completing the acquisition process.
That's incredible. So, Not only do the TPA Engineering Assessment reports provide an opportunity to save direct operating costs, but they also eliminate future failures, reducing downtime, costly environmental reclamation expenses, and streamlining the compliance process.
Precisely. And it's worth noting that the TPA Engineering Assessment reports align perfectly with regulatory frameworks and CSA Z662 requirements for a quality integrity management program. TPA Engineering Assessment reports rely on a data-driven approach that ensures operators can provide clear, defensible documentation to regulators, which is a huge advantage.
This has been such an enlightening conversation. Before we wrap up, what's the one message you want listeners to take away about TPA Engineering Assessment reports and triage?
If there's one thing, it's this. Pipeline integrity management doesn't have to be a guessing game. With the TPA Engineering Report Service and Triage by AbaData, you're not just checking boxes, you're making smarter decisions, enhancing safety, and delivering real value to your operations.
I couldn't have said it better. Thanks so much for joining us. And to our listeners, if you're ready to transform your pipeline assessments, reach out to us or visit trustedpipelineadvisor.com.
Until next time, stay safe and stay innovative.